Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Jim Toscano here, and welcome to the Monday night live stream, Filling in the Grooves, episode 72. And as you know, it would be 73, but Ralph Humphrey couldn't make it last week, and so our thoughts are with him. Ralph's doing okay, so but he did have something come up last time, so we're rescheduling Ralph Humphrey once again, and we will get him in here just as soon as possible. And I have some great guests coming up, and I want you to know that we did finally reschedule Jeff Salem, who's going to be coming in, and we're going to do a hot sauce / drumming episode, which is going to be awesome. I don't have my dates in front of me, so you can go to the QR code on my up on my follow screen, and if you click on that, that will take you out to my mailing list. You can sign up, and I will send out emails with the full schedule. But this month we do have Klaus Hessler coming up, as well as Jeff Salem, Billy Cobham Part 2 coming up, and as well as others. And I have some of my educator friends coming up soon, and Dave Clive's Gretsch Museum is going to happen very soon. A lot of dates are getting worked out, but there's going to be lots of fun. So hopefully you've been following along and checking out all of the archived live streams that we have over on YouTube. And they're on my YouTube channel, the full archives, unedited. And then there are a few edits, some shorter ones. But check out the full live streams. They're really fun, and we have them all up there for you. So just want to mention some companies, ProLogic's practice pads. You might be able to see a few behind me over there. My scene has changed a little bit in the room, so it may look a little different to you. I'm going to be checking the chat nice and early, I promise. So any feedback, if there's anything going on from a technical standpoint, let us know. And also offset pedals, Sabian cymbals, of course. Oh my God. I did recently did a live stream gig with Roger Street Friedman, which is one of my regular um, great friends and artists that I work with, and we did a live stream from his backyard with a whole stage and a whole crew. It was great, and I used my artisan hats and two rides. One, my hammer tone riveted ride, and of course, my king ride, which I always take. And also, I want to mention Black Magic designs for all the switchers and monitors and all that good stuff. But I want to introduce my guest tonight, who happens to be a really good friend of mine. And we've had sleepover parties, and we've done clinics together and workshops, and we've done online clinics, in-person clinics, and he is a great friend of mine. He's also a great drummer, educator, and author, and we're going to talk about all of those facets of his playing and of his career. And I typed out his bio accidentally in French, so this whole thing right here is in French. So that does me no good whatsoever. So we can't use that one at all. But then I caught it and I printed it in English. So I just wanted to let you know that. I just want to read a couple of things right here. So Stephane Chamberland, my guest tonight, is an internationally recognized drummer, clinician, educator, and author. He's currently freelancing with numerous bands. He has a great fusion band that we're going to talk about, and touring and recording. And he's presented hundreds of drum clinics worldwide, studied with some of the finest educators in the world. We don't need his bio. Without any further ado, let me bring in Stephane Chamberland, my good buddy and great drummer educator.
Yes, Jim. It's nice to see you. Thank you for the amazing introduction. Now, today's going to be in French, right?
The whole thing's in French. I will, of course, be... Yes, I'm going to destroy the language, and you will speak eloquently, of course. I couldn't destroy the language if I tried because I don't know any French. And I remember when I think we were in California in the hotel in Anaheim for NAMM, and you were trying to teach me a few words, which didn't go well, if I remember correctly.
just try j'aime la
J'aime.
batterie. Try that.
J'aime.
La batterie.
What?
La batterie.
All right, forget that. We're skipping that one.
It means I love drums.
I do love drums. I just can't say it in French. But you and we've spent a bunch of time together, and we've traveled together a bit, and we've done, clinics and workshops, as I've mentioned. So we've had a lot of fun together. You've stayed at my house many times, and so we go pretty far back. We go kind of way back, and it's so great to finally have you on the show as a guest. And we're gonna kind of get into your history as a drummer a bit. And maybe I'll be learning some things tonight that maybe I didn't know. And I also want to talk about, we're both wisdom media authors. I want to talk about some books and maybe perhaps some upcoming projects we might get into. But the first thing I just want to ask you is, because you have, I think, kind of in our camp, which I like to kind of think of us all in the Dom camp in a way, right? We've all come from the Dom school of drumming and enthusiasm. Where do you get your constant enthusiasm for playing, day after day after day? Where does that come from?
Such a great question. But actually, Dom is responsible for a lot of the things I've been doing. And I remember when I was studying with him, he explained that if you want to really do clinics and communicate your passion, you have to speak with, enthusiasm, of course. And remember, at that time, I was still learning English. So English is my second language, right? So I was learning English and at the same time trying to speak in public in English. So it was really a challenge, but it started there. And when I started teaching and expressing my passion with my students, I just started seeing more results. And it was just, kind of how I always felt, because I'm from a family of musicians. I've been playing music since I'm like 3 years old, and it was always such a huge passion for me. but just to be able to express it by teaching and doing clinics. Now it's a cycle, right? Because you play, you teach, you get better, and you teach better. So it's a process that is kind of between yourself and when you share the information and you share your passion, it comes back. And when it comes back, it drives you just to learn more, to keep studying and practicing and trying to, learn more languages. And so it's just a cycle. It's coming from, of course, my parents. Dom is responsible, and my friends, and of course my students.
That's excellent. And Dom, I think, is really one of the factors for many of us that have studied with him, and just the enthusiasm and the encouragement has always been really special coming from Dom. And I only hope that a fraction of that rubs off on us, and we're able to bring that forward to our students as well. And so, when did you start studying with Dom? Because I know that you were still living in Canada at the time, right? So you were coming to Port Jefferson and staying here for a few days at a time. Was that the way you did it?
Right. Like right now I'm in Quebec. This is my Quebec studio. And thank you so much, Jim, for just helping me with this setup, with all the cams and the sound. And so now I teach online, and it's amazing doing it from here. I lived in New York many, many years, and I studied in New York many, many years too. And the story when I first met Dom, it's pretty amazing. I was actually probably like 15 or 16 years old, and he was playing in a club. And I was studying in a famous store that is now closed, but it's Musique Richard Gendreau in Quebec. And my teacher just said, if you want, we can try to get you in, because it's supposed to be like 18 years old and up, but I was like 15. So they arranged like something, and I was able to get in the club and see Dom for the first time. It was actually Dom and Robin DiMangio.
Oh.
And for the first time in my life, I was watching a drum clinic, and it was actually presented by Sabian. And I remember Dom started playing on the cymbals, and it is amazing playing. And I was just so blown away by his playing. And I remember this is the moment when I said to myself, that's what I want to do. I want to really play drums, but I also want to do clinics. This is amazing, just to be able to speak to people and play at the same time. It was just a combination of so many things I loved doing. So that was the first time I saw him. The second time he came to Quebec, I was probably maybe 2 years later, maybe like 17, 18. And it was more like a private in-store clinic. And after the clinic, he just said, if you guys want to try my drum set, just go ahead. So I was super, super nervous. And I jumped on the stage, and I started playing. And I got into my zone, just forgetting about people around. And I was just playing. It was so much fun. And during that time, I didn't know, but Dom was watching me. And after, my amazing performance, I'm not sure if it was really great, actually, but I know I played with passion. And I met him really for the first time, and we started talking. And I was explaining that, in Quebec right now, I've been taking private lessons with many teachers, and now I'm starting the classical school, like the Quebec City Conservatory. And I know it's not drums, I'm going to be doing more classical percussions, which is good, but I really want to go to the next level as a drummer. And that's when he said, hey, why don't you come, study with me in New York? And he gave me his personal email address. I was, oh my God, he was like my hero, my drum hero. So I went back home with this piece of paper from school, and the back he signed, his name, and with his telephone number. I was blown away, and I showed that to my parents, and I was so excited. I said, Mom, Dad, I want to go to New York and study with this guy, and this is going to be great. And they said, like, wait, who's this guy?
What are you talking about?
Who's this guy? And so it was amazing. The thing is, when we met, My English was level 0. Like I, I knew like yes, no, and maybe one other word. You know, I was really at a basic level of English. So he said, you know, if you come study with me, you need to learn English a little bit more so you can understand when I explain something. And I was looking for, you know, a place to learn English. And at the last year of high school, I applied for a grant, and the grant gave me a couple of $1,000 just to go study in Toronto at York University. And it was a summer-long program, and I was
Wow.
just there to learn English. It was pretty awesome. So I spent the summer there, and at the same time, I was able to take lessons with actually Jeff Salem and Rick Ratton and Paul DeLong, so my favorite Canadian drummers.
Yeah.
And after the summer, I called Dom back, you know, saying, Dom, it's Stephane Chamberland. I think I'm ready to study with you now. And it was the beginning of this amazing process that lasted almost 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so when you first traveled to New York to go study with Dom, how did that go? Did you drive? Did your parents put you on a plane? How did that go?
I took the bus actually from Quebec to Montreal, Albany, New York. And the thing is, I had to stop in, I think it was in Queens. I don't really remember the place, but it wasn't really a great neighborhood. It was really like violent and dangerous. I didn't know. And my parents were actually on a trip in, I think, at Wildwood in New Jersey.
Oh.
And they actually drove to Long Island to meet me there, you know, and I was, you know, taking the bus from Quebec. But the bus actually stopped in that place, and I didn't know the bus station closed. So it was like I was alone in the middle of the street, like like 17 or 18 years old. I had like a orange shirt, and I was like, oh my God, what I'm doing here? And I stayed there for about like 2 hours before the next bus came in, and I didn't know what to do. I was super afraid, and I heard like gunshot and stuff. I was like, oh my God, my first time as a young drummer, you know, in New York. And actually, I met a couple great people. They said, hey, you should come wait with us in the car. Not really safe, but I felt like, okay, they're fine. They were just waiting for their parents. And the bus came, my parents, you know, arrived at the bus station, and everything worked out. But I remember it was like an adventure for that age, you know.
Oh, definitely. That sounds like an appropriate introduction to the music scene in New York.
Oh man, yes, yes, yes.
Oh my God. And then so you studied with Dom. Did you stay for a few days? I mean, because that's a long way to travel, right? To begin this long spanning relationship with Dom, but you didn't know that
Yeah.
yet. You were going for the first time. So what did you wind up doing? Did you stay locally? Were your parents staying there too? How did that go?
Yeah, right. I stayed, I think, like 2 or 3 days, and I was taking 7, 8 hours lessons. You know, when I was there, the first time I think it was just one day, but I was staying in a hotel. You know, close to
Oh, okay. You didn't have a
Dom's studio.
tent in Dom's backyard, did you?
Actually, later I actually did. Almost, almost. It was more like a camper or something. But man, in 10 years, you know, we developed like a closer relationship. And at
Yeah.
some point, I was staying at his house,
Right.
which is pretty amazing. And I was friends, you know, with the family, and it was really an amazing experience at the time. And from, you know, that time when I started only with Dom and his assistant Mike at the time,
Right.
and I was studying with both, and it took about maybe 6 months before I started, you know, taking lessons privately only with Dom. And from there, it was like maybe a 2 years, I think. And then Jim Chapin came in for a lesson because Dom said, "Okay, you're ready for Jim Chapin. Woo, this is you."
Nice.
And I was like, "Oh my God, okay, cool." So he called Jim. Jim came in a Chapin Mobile, you know, it's a small car.
Yep.
And yeah, he came for my first lesson. And for the next like 3 years, I was always taking lessons with Dom and Jim. And only after that, Dom started, you know, sending me to different teachers.
Right.
like John Riley, Bobby Sanabria, and I think, and like so many teachers. I met, I think, like, what was it, 15, 17 drum teachers? So it got more intense because every time I was in New York, I was studying mainly with Dom. But at that point, it was more about the business side of the music and building my career and stuff. And he was, sending me to all these teachers. So in maybe a week, I was taking lessons with 4 teachers in Manhattan and Queens and coming back to Long Island just to keep the process going. So it was really like a process of building your career, but at the same time building your product. And your product is your playing, of course. So you want to promote yourself. So it's the balance between art and business. And I guess that's what you meant when you said we're really into this Dom's model, of art and business, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because Dom really is one of the best all-around mentors. Just the enthusiasm, of course, the skill set, and then the business side of things and organizing his students in such a way that they learn to promote themselves. They learn to organize their business skills. I remember doing that giant pad with him and, putting my name in the middle and then drawing all the different branches and author and clinician and, how to start attacking all of those different parts of your playing, right? So it's really incredible. And I still value that relationship today, even though we're so close and we've become very close friends. But that business relationship, part of it is always very valued,
Yeah, it's amazing. And sometimes I wake up in the morning and I realize like, oh, what's going to be my week? Okay, I do 2 clinics this week. I do like 1 freelance gig. I play like 2 gigs with my band, my fusion band. I'm teaching like 20 hours and I look at my stuff and okay, now I have to answer emails and I look at my emails and this is like people want to, for gigs and companies, and now, okay, I have to keep working on the book and write more articles for, Canadian Musician Magazine. So it's, I look at my life and my career, and every day I say to myself, this is really because of Dom. Because I'm wondering if I've never met Dom, in my life, would I, be at that stage where I can really make a living, playing drums and doing what I love. And Dom is to me at the same level as when you say, oh, I want to thank my parents because my parents were supportive and they were there for me. Well, I met Dom at 17, so he was kind of my American father in a way.
Yeah.
So that's why, so I think he's as important as the role my parents played in my career and my development as a person and as a professional drummer. So,
right.
Man, I think about Dom, pretty much every day, and I'm so thankful, for all the inspiration and everything he's been doing, he's been doing for me,
Yeah, man, definitely. I definitely think about him every day as well. Even if he's not calling me with a 911 call about technology, I'm still thinking about him every day. Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's just say real quick hello in the chat. We have a few folks that have filed in the beginning here. Anthony Cusina is saying good evening, and if you're on YouTube, it's Tony Cusina. Hey Tony, how you doing, man?
Hey Tony.
My student Lucia Seminara is in here. Lucia.
Yeah.
She says, "Hey Jim and Steph, how's everybody doing tonight?" Bob Sears is hanging with us tonight. Stephen Kramer's here with us tonight. Yeah.
Stephen, yeah.
Rocco Deserto is here with us tonight. Rocco. You met him at our Sam Ash clinic.
Right.
John Gill is here from Oneonta, New York. And he said, how about you guys do another online clinic together? The last one was awesome. John was at our
nice.
Was at the last clinic online, which you invited me to, which I think was the Montreal Drum Day. I think
Montreal,
that's what he's
with Daniel Bedard.
Yeah, with Daniel Bedard. And so we got our folks hanging in. Anybody that has any questions, definitely start fielding them, and I will read them to Stefan as we go along.
I love questions. Bring more questions.
More questions. Mathematics, biology. Okay.
Maybe not.
And I wanted to I wanted to jump into the books for a moment because this one, The Weaker Side, which is
Yeah.
by Dom Famularo and Stephane Chamberland. And I say it that way because, as we know, there are books that are through Wisdom Media that are with certain people or and certain people. So there's a difference in the way the verbiage and what that means. But this one is you and Dom together and The Weaker Side. And I remember, I have to just tell a quick story that I was studying with Dom at the time, and I said to him, this is before The Weaker Side came out, and I said, I have this book that I wrote, which was essentially the idea of the weaker side for the feet. And I didn't know about this project, but what it was doing, it was working on your weaker foot. So there was no left and right written in there. It was your leading foot and your weaker foot. And so I wrote an entire book with like 100 pages of foot exercises. And I showed it to Dom, and I was like, hey, man, I said, what do you think of this? You know, do you think this would be a good book to put out? And he was like, oh, we're working on something like that already. And it was The Weaker Side. And this addressed the topics in such a great way. And it's not, you know, specific to feet or hands specifically. It's to any limb that is your weaker limb. And this is a great concept. And I just want to know how you guys came up with the idea for this book and then kind of the process. Like, how long did this take to put this one together?
Okay, so it's again amazing question, and if I remember well, it was maybe like 2 or 3 years after I started my lessons with him, and I was just passionate about books. I was buying a lot of books, and I remember It's Your Move, which is like the Bible of technique and movements, right? Was the starting point. When you start and learn from It's Your Move, then it opens the door to other amazing technical books. In It's Your Move, you can see different sections. Like there's one section about, for example, drumstick form, one about the weaker side, flam facility. So many sections that are kind of related, but can be like also really different. So Dom's plan was to write books for each section. So my role was to write actually like for, if I remember well, drumstick form was the first I wrote. And actually I wrote an entire book just by myself, just for fun. And I recorded like on a CD, and I sent a full package, with like all the notation and text and CD to Dom. And he was actually blown away by what I did. Drumstick form is actually a book we're gonna, release one day because I'm still working on it. But the weaker side was more urgent at the time, and Dom was looking for someone to help him write this book. So I said, can I write the book? And he said, of course, yes. So I started working on the book, and a little bit every day. It took about maybe a year and a half, 2 years before the book was ready. And we published it. It was my first book. And I remember when I was at NAM, just to promote the book and talk about the book, and I was so proud, I was just a young drummer from Quebec City, and now having my first book with an international company like Alfred Music. It was amazing. So first book was The Weaker Side, and it was followed by Pedal Control at the time, because he was working on Pedal Control with Joe Bergamini, and said, do you want to help us with the book as well? I said yes. And after that, he contacted me for stick control and accents and rebounds. And I was part of the team who actually rewrote the books in a more like modern form. Same content, but more modernized in using the computer. So it was just such a great journey to write all those books, and we're still working on more books now.
Yeah. And I mean, that being a part of the stick control re-engraving and accents and rebounds, that's really amazing. And think about all these early drum books were done on sort of a music notation typewriter, right? If you
Yeah.
look at early Ted Reed syncopation, you can see where they don't always quite line up. And the same thing with stick control, when it was really kind of blotchy looking after a while, like printing of the same
Yep.
plates that they used at the time, right? And so, thanks to you guys, we have these really beautiful, clear versions of those books. But I still have my original stick control book, my original Ted Reed, my original Accents and Rebounds, the messier looking ones. And I'm such a drum book nerd. I love keeping all the early versions of these books. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
and pedal control. Since Joe and Dom had been working on it already, what was your involvement like on that book?
I was working on the layout because
Oh,
the book
layout.
was pretty much all written, and I remember I corrected a couple of things and I gave some suggestions that they actually took for the content, but mostly the book was all already almost finished. So I
Right,
just worked on the layout and stuff. So I think it was really like the fine tuning of the book.
right,
And that's why you said, sometimes you see your name like Dom and Steph, or sometimes it's with Stephane
right.
Chamberland. So it's the difference is there. Your the percentage of work you do in the book will define how they're going to present your name in the book.
Right.
And yeah, so that's
I love that,
that's
and
pretty
I
cool.
mean that's clever, and it's just a great way to involve. It was a great way to involve you in those projects. So, um,
Completely. Yes. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. I had another question about this, but I'm going to come back to it in a few moments. But the
Well,
way it's laid out, by the way, I just wanted to say the way that the weaker side is laid out is really simple with a single line staff, and you guys move the notes either above or below that single line staff. And it's super
yep.
clear and easy to read, and that's what I love about it. Some books are very, I don't want to say, well, maybe cluttered looking, right? So this book is very streamlined. So did you have a lot to do with the way that this was laid out?
Yes, of course, and it's always a team, work, team vision. We all give some ideas, and it takes a long time to write a book and with Dom because Dom is a perfectionist, right? He wants everything to be the best for the students, and because he knows once the book is out, it's out. Even if we had to make some corrections after the first publication because. It like the first like publishing because we always find some small things, like, oh, page 5, number 6 is the same as page 11, number
I know it
12.
well.
It's like, oh my god, oh my god.
I know it
But
well.
it's it's a hard book to write, like, because you're repeating the pattern. So the way it works, so you want to play more weaker side.
Right.
So if you say strong, weak, 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 strong, weak, 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 well, you just move all the pattern. You do like a permutation, and you start the accent on the second beat and the third beat and the fourth beat. But at the end, it doesn't work anymore. So you have to kind of create new possibilities, and this is where it gets really tricky because now you can really do the same thing if you're stuck, and
Right.
you have to write new stuff for the same pattern. So it's hard book to write. And actually, we're working on the weaker side too right now with
Right.
Nina Para from Brazil, and we're having the same challenges. And I actually started working on the second version maybe 2-3 years ago. And by myself, it was so hard. So I said to Dom, I need more help. I need someone who can, write more stuff with me and create. And Nina was the perfect person. So we contacted Nina, and she said yes. And now we're writing the book. The three of us are writing the book.
Awesome.
And Nina is doing an amazing job. She's better than me, man, at this stuff. she can really look at all the details, and I'm like, oh my god, I missed all the stuff she saw. So I'm so happy she's with us in this
It's great to have
process.
another pair of eyes and also someone else with that energy, to contribute. So that's great.
Completely, she's amazing. She's so great, and so the book is almost done actually. So it should be out really, really soon, and it's going to be the same concept, like the weaker side 1, but now we're adding accents. So it's kind of a follow-up of accents and rebounds. Stick control was linked to the weaker side 1 because it was using more formal techniques and more free stroke oriented techniques, or you can use it for many things, of course. You can apply the exercises to many, many techniques, but the second one will be all about accenting. So now you start applying more of the Mahler techniques and whip and yeah, connected to accents and rebounds. So make sure to check out accents and rebounds and the weaker side 2. And the weaker side 2 is only going to be on the Hudson app, right? It's only going to be presented digitally.
Okay.
Which is the new format now.
That's it.
And it's pretty cool. And I saw your book. It's amazing. You see like the audio. You click and you hear the exercise. You see like the video at the beginning of a section. Man, it's amazing.
It's so fun having the digital version of it and having the video and audio embedded. I was so excited when Hudson got it up finally. Yeah, it's really, really exciting. So I'll be excited to see your new book up there. That's going to be great. There's a couple of questions that came in, so let's do this real quick. So Lucia has a question for you, and Lucia says, who is your biggest inspiration as a drummer?
It's a great question again. Man, great questions. Please ask like a really like bad question so I can say like, oh, this is a bad question. Actually, I would say Dave Weckl is an important drummer and an influence for me. I was watching his Back to Basic VHS tape actually before going out, was it the high school? When I was in high school, and before going to school, I was watching VHS tape. So it's so Weckl, of course, Steve Gadd. Man, I love so many drummers, and in jazz-wise, I really love Bill Stewart.
Yes.
And I had like different, periods where when I was listening to one specific drummer for maybe a year or two, and then I found like, oh, this drummer is amazing, and I was listening to him. And I guess it all started when I bought Burning for Buddy. Do you remember the 2 volumes, like the jazz CDs? And I think Neil Peart was the producer.
Yeah.
And I was super young, and I was discovering all these drummers. So Steve Smith was in there, and Weckl, of course, and Manu Katché, I think.
Yeah.
So many great drummers. And I was, taking Weckl for a year and listening to what he was doing. And then I moved to a different drummer from these albums. So it was really influential for me.
Oh, nice. I knew your first person was going to be Dave Weckl, just because we know each other for so long. But and Dave's doing a lot of great content now, and even it's interesting to watch Dave's evolution as a player, right? So somebody that we all look up to, but we've seen, because we've been following him for so long. He was really young when he started playing the clubs in New York City, and playing with Michelle Camilo, and playing with Night Sprite, and then eventually seeing him on the Chick Corea gigs. Like watching his evolution, right? Because he is a consummate studier, and definitely a perfectionist. And it's interesting to watch our drum heroes go through their evolution as well, right?
Completely. And great Canadian drummers I really love, Paul Brochu and Mark Kelso. So if you guys don't know who these drummers are, if you're on Drumeo, you might know Mark from Drumeo because he did a lot of lessons for them. But Mark Kelso and Paul Brochu, Brochu. So and he plays with UZEB, one of our best like fusion band. I had the chance to study with Paul, and I'm still studying with Paul when I get the chance, but he's such a big influence, So, yeah, a lot of jazz drummers. But when I was living in New York, like 3-4 nights, during a week, like 3 or 4 nights a week, I was going to see bands and live bands. And I saw so many great drummers that we don't know of, not famous names, but man, every time I was blown away. And you mentioned like Steve Kremer being with us. I mean, Steve is such an amazing drummer.
He's amazing.
Discovered in New York, and I took some lessons with him, and I was like, oh man, this is great. He's such a great talent. So you should definitely check him out if you don't know what he's been doing. And his band is amazing. And so many great drummers. I can't just say one name. It's like everybody.
And you mentioned Bill Stewart before, and Bill Stewart's definitely one of my favorites as well. And he's just a guy that is very unique, I think, and in his interpretation and his sound and the way that he approaches playing, and he's really fun to watch. So as live music is coming back, when you get a chance, go see these guys play, because, we can't take it for granted. I know that we've lost a lot of musicians over the last few years that I regret not going to see, and there's really no excuse when they're in New York City playing and you can just go to a venue and see them. So as music is coming back, I know we went through a long period where it was difficult to see anybody. Although the Vanguard was live streaming shows, and Bill Stewart did live stream shows over the pandemic from the Vanguard. But make sure that you go out, people, and see the people you really want to see, because they're not going to be around forever.
Of course.
Yeah. Lucia had a follow-up question, which is, what is your favorite book that you either wrote or helped write? So out of the stuff you've worked on so far, what's your favorite?
My favorite one. Well, of course, the weaker side, I was so involved, it was a big process. So I was so proud when it came out. So I would say this one is the one I love. But there's also drum set duets that I wrote with Dom, and the book was already, it was an old book he wrote with someone. Yes, right. He wrote with someone else like years and years ago, but the book wasn't published, and it was not really seen anywhere. So he just gave me the book, and he said, if you want to work on this stuff and improve it and make it more modern, add ghost notes and make it like more fun, it will be amazing. So I guess for the fun part of playing the grooves as I was, writing them down, it was really fun to do. The weaker side was more a mental challenge, and left, right to the math, between. But the side of the groove side of drum set duets was really fun. And by the way, the book is cool because you play like teacher or drummer one will play one groove, and the student or drummer number two will play the second groove.
Right.
So you have like two pages next to each other. You have groove A and B. So when you play the two grooves together, you hear like this new groove, happening. It's pretty cool. So when you work with students, it's great for them to read, listen to what they're doing, and listen to what you're doing. So they're already working on listening to other players as they're learning to play grooves, which is important. So it was a cool book to write.
Isn't it amazing that, the technology has changed so much in a short amount of time? But on this one, it says data/MP3 disc included, like the Batman POW. It's just so funny that, like
it sounds old.
Yeah, it's like data disc included. Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah.
But obviously now, a lot of with digital books, we have all the stuff embedded right in it, which is wonderful. And but it's really fun to have these the original versions of all these different books. And think about Jim Chapin's book, Advanced Techniques for the Modern Drummer, that the story that Dom told about finding the recordings in like Jim's garage. And they were like, stuff stacked on them, and he actually found them, and then it had them put together so they were CDs with the book. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a great story.
And Tony had a question. Tony Casina said, "What is a typical day for you, and how do you go about improve your playing on a typical day?"
Yes, I would practice pretty much every day. I'm playing all the time when I'm
Right.
teaching and I play gigs and I do clinics. I'm always playing. But practicing, really taking the time, to work on something specific and improving it. I try to practice, if I can, like 3 hours a day in between lessons. So when I'm at the studio. When I'm not at the studio, I would do some pads. I'll play a little bit of piano. I'm gonna work on something different. But when I'm here, I'm definitely gonna practice here and there. And it's right now I'm working with my studio, so I can record what I've been working on. And we talked about my fusion project with Carl Mayotte. It's the
Yes.
Carl Mayotte. Carl is an amazing bass player from Quebec City, and we have like amazing musicians too, in this project. Gabriel Cyr on guitar. We have Damien Jadcir on sax. We have also Carl Mayotte bass. I'm at the drums, and Francis Grégoire on keys. And it's just an amazing band. So if you don't know about the band, you can find us on all the platforms like Apple Music, Spotify. Just type in Carl Mayotte Fusion Quintet, and we already have 2 albums out. We're working on the 3rd one. That being said, coming back to my practice, I'll just work on some songs, record my playing, and then I'm gonna listen back to it and try to improve the musicality, the choices I make, the groove, time feel. So it's really a process I started doing with Paul Brochu when I started my lessons with him, and he was giving me a song to play and read, like sight read, and he was pressing rec. He was recording my playing while I was, trying to save myself from this hell. And after we just sit down at the studios section it's actually at Montreal University, and we sit down at the station and we listen back to my playing, and then we talk about it, and we
Nice.
see all the details and everything that we talk about when we're producing, and we're talking about music, right? Which is kind of the where you want to go with all the books and lessons, and you want to be able to play the music at a high level. So that's how I try to analyze my playing as well when I practice. And book-wise, I've been working on different books. I use syncopation a lot for different independence stuff. I work on my rudiments. I always start with a little bit of technique. Then sight reading could be a snare drum or a drumming piece. So I'll take books like Tommy Igoe, Groove Essentials, and go to a song I played like a long time ago, or like I want it to feel fresh, to feel like brand new. And I work on my sight reading. I work a lot on the sound, tones related to technique, just to make sure that it sounds great, the balance of the sound. So it's what I do during a typical day of practice between lessons and gigs. So it's super fun. Great question.
Excellent. So that's it on the questions for the moment. I have some questions, and so and I
Now I'm
also
scared.
I have a couple of things I do, like speed round questions, which are really simple, first thing to pop in your head kind of questions. But I love asking reactions to various drummers. And we mentioned a bunch, but there's some guys that I don't hear you often mention, and so I'm going to throw some guys out there that maybe may make you think a little bit, because I know that you're a Weckl fan, and I pretty much know most of the drummers that you've mentioned to me over the years. But I'm going to mention a few guys, and I keep adding guys to this list because every time I talk to people, there's always everybody has their preferences, right? So it's pretty interesting. But obviously, if we're talking we were talking Steve Gadd, we were talking Dave Weckl, I have to mention, of course, Vinnie Colaiuta. So what comes into your mind, quickly when I say Vinnie Colaiuta to you?
Power and precision.
Indeed.
Yeah, and I'm blown away by his playing, and he's one of my favorites too. I didn't mention him because he didn't come in mind. But he's really one of my favorite drummers when it comes to fusion. And actually everything, because
Everything.
he plays everything. Yeah, he's in my top 5 for sure.
He's one of those guys that, you hear him like on his solo record, or the stuff he did with Zappa, or
Yeah.
any of the stuff you've heard him play on that's more of a fusion thing, or jazz and rock kind of melding together. But then
Right.
you'll hear him on like a Faith Hill gig back in the day, and he's just playing super simple, beautiful time, beautiful feel, and he can play that. And then you hear him with Jeff Beck and Tal Wilkenfeld, tearing it up to shreds.
Right.
And that's what I love about him, is he's such a chameleon. And I always bring
Right.
up this one record, and I turned a lot of drummers onto this lately, but he played on this Nick Kershaw record called The Works, and it's hard to find, and it's pretty expensive because I think it's only an import. And I was talking to Nate Morton from The Voice, and I said, "Did you ever hear the song Cowboys and Indians on The Work from Nick Kershaw?" And he was like, "I don't know what that is." And so I sent it to him so he could check it out. But there's some stuff that, that these guys have played on that we've kind of maybe never heard, and you can still discover more stuff from some of these brilliant players. So
Yeah, there's actually one album that Joe B recommended to me years ago, and it's a document live with Vinny's band. It sounds amazing. So I'm not sure if it's document like singular or plural documents or document, but live. You
Wow.
have to check that out. It's amazing. Actually, he said, like I said, like many years ago, he said, you like Weckl? Do you have the album Rendezvous by Michel Camilo? And I was, no,
Right.
you should get this record because Dave's playing is amazing.
Oh
and
my
this
God.
is actually, I bought the new Chick Corea trio album, and the kind of the stuff I really loved from that time, when Dave was playing with Michel, I hear it now in Chick's trio, but improved. Like, man, it's crazy. It
Yeah.
was already amazing at the time, but now it's out of this world. It's like, oh, his musicality. So check out like Chick Corea trio, the new one, and also Michel Camilo Rendezvous, and
Yeah.
Document Live for Vinny.
And for Dave Weckl also, I mean, the first Michel Camilo record that I ever heard was that record Suntan. And Joel Rosenblatt played on part of that record, I believe, and Dave played on part of that record. And that was one of my introductions to him. And then I heard him on the first Electric Band album. And the first Electric Band album, when I was sort of maybe a freshman in college, I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. And also the other thing that got me excited about Dave Weckl was that first Bill Connors record that I heard him on, Step It. And there's a drum solo on the tune Step It, which, you hear some classic Dave kind of playing on that record. And I know it's real early stuff for him and it's evolved, completely, but it's really amazing. So precise, so well played, feels great.
Yeah.
And then of course he played on a Madonna record, like who knew, So that's a crazy thing too, again, finding what your heroes have played on, right?
Right.
I wanted to mention also Tony Williams, who I love Tony Williams playing. And so where does that sit for you?
A huge influence, and I was I bought it's like a package with many albums from the 60s, I think, but it's really like albums are yellow. It's Miles Davis Quintet.
Yeah.
I wish I knew the year, but it's amazing. He was 17, I think, when he played on these records. It's amazing, and a huge influence. And I shared some of my favorite jazz album with Stephen Kramer, that is maybe still listening. And at some point, we sat in his parents' living room, and he showed me a lot of recordings because I was looking to improve my bebop and jazz playing. And I asked him, what album should I get? And he gave me an amazing list with Tony Williams and so many great drummers and Max Roach, and it was amazing. And Tony was probably my favorite one, even though they're all amazing and such a big part of drumming history. every time I hear Tony, to me it sounds like the kind of the spice, the jazz, jazz touch that I loved in New York, that I was only hearing it in Manhattan, in New York City, when I was listening to jazz from everywhere, like Europe and Brazil and everywhere around the world. It was really good, but I heard this touch that was really specific to New York. And to me, I don't know why, but I recognized it when I first listened to Tony's playing with Miles. And every time I hear a drummer play, and actually when I was taking lessons with drummers in New York City, like jazz drummers, every time I was asking the question, like, who's your main influence? Tony was always kind of the first name that was, mentioned. So yeah, huge influence. And go get these albums. Miles Davis Quintet.
And also,
Amazing.
I love the later records, not the fusion era. I'm talking about his quintet later on, and there's a live recording. I think it's a DVD. It's hard to find, but it is on YouTube. 1989, live in New York, Tony Williams Quintet, and it's just absolutely killing. And beautiful tunes, really beautiful tunes. And so you get to hear kind of a different side, I think, of his playing. So that's really, really cool to check out.
Nice.
What about
next one. Come on.
my buddy, my good buddy, David Garibaldi?
Oh man, yes. Again, I should have mentioned him because he's a big influence. I love funk music a lot, and Tower of Power is one of my favorites. It's such great music. And I was working on David's books when I was in high school, taking private lessons with
Future Sounds.
some Future Sounds and a funky beat.
Yeah, the funky beat.
Funky beat with all the play along tracks.
Yeah.
And later on, I found his latest book with all the transcriptions of.
Yes.
What's the title of this book?
All the Tower transcriptions. It's slipping my mind at the moment. I have it on my bookshelf somewhere. I wish I could just yank it out. But yeah, all those books are super important, I think. If anybody's going to study that vocabulary and understand it deeply, those are the books to have for sure.
Yeah, and he actually, brought me to Gary Chaffee's books. When I was hearing like the combinations, like 3, 4, 5, like right, left, bass, and some stuff I was learning with Jeff Salem at the time. And with Garibaldi, I started really understanding how to play that in a music context. And one more thing I need to mention about Garibaldi. When he did his Drumeo class, he said, to me, the sounding a certain way when I was learning drums was as important as what I was playing. So how I was sounding was as important as what I was playing. And I love his touch. There's something about his touch that it snaps, right?
Yeah.
Everything is so precise. And that actually brought me into going back studying technique, because I loved so many great techniques, but I was looking for a more precise sound. And that's, I went back to Klaus Hester to understand more about fingers, and then it brought me to Paul Brochu, and man, I'm so passionate about this stuff. And I started hearing David's playing a little bit like Bernard Purdy's playing, where you hear everything is so precise. It's great, and it was a big part of my learning path. So Garibaldi is really important.
And another thing about David is that he's still as passionate about learning and experimenting and teaching. And when I had him on the show, his episode, he had all these ideas that he had written down, and he was like, "Oh, do you mind?" And I was like, "Of course not. Play. Go ahead." And he was playing through his ideas, and he's constantly writing new ideas. It's just so amazing to see that passion still that prevalent in his life. It's really, really incredible. By the way, Pat Ross is in here, and he said, "Hey, Jim and Stefan, haven't seen you two together since the drum workshop that you both presented. Any chance of doing another one?" Yes, there is definitely a chance of doing another one. So we'll have to work
Yes.
on that. And Lucia said, "Yeah, I had a great time at that masterclass." So yes, we will have to put that together for sure. That was super fun. So I'm going to give you a couple more drummers that I just want to have you bounce
Cool.
off of. And so I'm going to pick Neil Peart. So
Yeah.
rest in peace, Neil.
Yes, of course.
The drum world, of course, misses you, and he's I think one of those drummers that's always near and dear to your heart, just because
Yeah.
he had such an influence on an entire genre of music for such a long time. But how does Neil resonate with you and your history as a player?
You know, I feel like because of Hudson Music, and it was actually DCI at the time.
Yeah.
The company was making the VHS tapes, and he did this test for echoes, right?
Yeah.
Like the DVD that he was explaining all the grooves and his technique and his lessons with Freddie Gruber, and it was, you know, influential. I started listening to Rush and learning all the classics, and maybe my fourth year of high school, I had to play at the talent show at the end of the year, and I picked YYZ. And it was such a challenge, and they had to call all the teachers to play with me because students, like the guitar students and the piano, they were not able to play the song. So I played, imagine that, you know, I'm super young and playing YYZ at the live show with all the music teachers of the school. So yeah, I love this. Bang, bing, 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 bing,
Yeah.
bing, 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 bing. So yes, he was also influential in
You know, it's funny.
my playing.
My band when I was in I guess we were pretty young in high school. We did a battle of the bands at another school, and we had to cut school to go play this battle of bands in another school, and we played YYZ in our set. I think we played 3 songs at this battle of the bands thing, and we played YYZ, and we did. I don't think we won first place, but I think we took second place, and we played YYZ, and it was super fun, and that was a big influence for me as well as a kid. And then I started the band Power Windows, which was a Rush cover band that Joe Bergamini later became
Yeah.
the permanent drummer of, and I started that with my buddy Daniel Gibson, and so I had my romance with Rush definitely for a long time when I was younger. And the other thing I wanted to mention with Rush is Joe Bergamini's DVD and book is incredible. I use it with my students a lot. Really incredibly written, well written. It's in digital, it's in print, but get it in digital. It's so cool to have, and so there's all these great resources. And you also mentioned the video that you watched, which was probably a DCI production, right? Where
Right.
he's breaking down Test for Eco. But then he also did one which was it was like construction of a drum solo part where
Okay.
he was
Yeah.
breaking that down, and he also talked about studying
Wow.
with Freddie Gruber. And so here's another drum hero that we watched go through a transformation because he went back to studying and
Right.
and working on his technique constantly throughout his life. So this is what we do. You know, we're constant learners of our craft, and we're never quite satisfied, right? We always want to learn more and explore more music. So I love that about the guys that we follow, right? That they're doing the
Yes.
same thing.
Of course.
So and I'll just mention one more. So because I've never heard
Yeah.
you talk about John Bonham, but so John Bonham.
Well, yes, of course. It's I was too young to live, you know, this time in history where, you know, Led Zeppelin was big, and so it was more like studying the greats, when I started studying the greats and what Bonham did. And actually, uh, I think Dom brought me to Led Zepp and listening more to Led Zeppelin because of me wanting to learn jazz, and he said, "Oh, you need to study also how he took all the jazz vocabulary and applied it in a rock setting." So yeah, so it's amazing. I've been playing a lot of Led Zeppelin songs, during freelance gig and stuff like that, and it's always a challenge to really kind of try to reproduce the same feel, because it's not only what he plays but how he plays. So that's always a challenge. But he's definitely such a legend and an influential drummer.
It's not only the attitude of it and the feel, where he places his backbeat is really important to try to recreate that feel, right? Where things sit. And really learning about playing sort of just behind the time in a way that doesn't drag but feels sort of syrupy and grooves really hard. And
Right.
that's a great master to listen to try to emulate that feel for sure. By the way, one thing I wanted to mention back to YYZ, I was scratching my head before because I couldn't remember, but there's a YouTube show called Lost in Vegas, and it's these two gentlemen that they do first impressions of recordings, and they did a first impression like they've never heard it before. They did a first impression of YYZ, and it's just great. It's really funny. Like
Wow.
they sometimes they're doing hip hop records, and it's like. But people write in requests, and somebody requested YYZ, and so they're doing a first impression. And like partway through, you see the two of them stop, and they're like, "Is this an instrumental?" They're waiting for the lyrics to kick in. But it's super fun to watch. So check out Lost in Vegas, first impression on YYZ. By the way, Jim Mola is in here, and
Oh no! Oh.
Mola is in the house. And he
Jim
wrote.
is a great friend.
He wrote to you in French, but but I think
Go ahead.
I don't know if I can share this so that you are you able to see us on one of the platforms, Stephane?
I don't know. Can I use my cell phone?
No, it's okay. I'll just I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share it.
Just read it in French.
No, I'm just gonna drag it. I am not gonna read it in French. I'm gonna drag it onto. Wait, I don't know if I could do that in the middle of this. Let me just see if I here, I know what I'm going to do.
And while
I mean, I
doing
could try to read it to you. You'll probably know maybe what I mean. It's so J is J-E, right?
Yeah.
J
Yeah.
Suisse, S-U-I-S.
Okay.
Un canard, C-A-N-A-R-D.
C-A-N. Yeah. So I'm a duck.
I'm a duck. Oh, I'm a giant duck. So he wrote.
So far, it makes sense. It makes total sense.
Yeah, he wrote gigantesque. I guess means gigantic. Gigantesque.
Yeah. So it's a
Yeah.
huge, like big. Yeah.
I'm a huge duck. Is that what he wrote?
Yeah, that's what he wrote. And Jim is a good friend, and every time I was going to Steve Maxwell's drum shop in Manhattan, I don't know why, I was always texting him and say, "Hey, are you going there?" And we met there. That was the place where we actually met. And one time we saw John Riley. He was just there, and he actually gave us a quick drum lesson. So Steve Maxwell's such a great place in New York, and you never know who you're going to meet. But yeah, and he's always making fun of my French accent, and I love it. I don't know. He's too perfect. I don't know. There's nothing I can make fun of, with him. He's such a amazing drummer, such a great drummer. I was so inspired to see him play and just to talk to him, and he's such a great guy. So
Jim's a great player. Jim's a great drummer.
Miss you, my friend.
Yes, Jim is a great player, great singer, super funny human, and we had a great episode together on the show. So if you
Yeah,
didn't
I
see
saw.
that, go check it out on YouTube, the Jim Mola episode. Um, so he's hanging with us tonight. Um,
Great.
okay, so
C'est bien de te voir, Jim.
nice. I think Jim might speak several languages. I'm not sure though.
Probably. He's just perfect.
He's perfect. Yeah, yeah. He has to, right? He's probably speaks 4 or 5 languages, I would imagine. By the way, are you a Zach Danziger fan?
Yes, yes.
So, do you know about Zach's latest project?
Yes, you told me about it.
Oh, I told you about it, right? Wednesday
Yeah.
Night Titans. So, if you guys haven't seen Wednesday Night Titans, check it out. There's some YouTube clips, or go to his Instagram. But there's great clips up where they're basically dressing. He and his bass player um, are dressing up as wrestlers, and they use early wrestling footage, and they time it into the music with the guys speaking, so it's as if they're rapping or singing in time with the music. It's amazing. All the video clips are synced, and Zach does an incredible thing where he triggers not only the musical sounds but all the video from pads and different services. So check that out, Wednesday Night Titans. And Zach Danziger's another New York drummer that I was going to see around the city playing with Lenny Stern, Mike Stern, Chuck Loeb, Michelle Camilo, right? Another great player, great New York player. So I just wanted to mention that. So here we go. Who inspires you now? Somebody maybe that we haven't mentioned, somebody maybe that is a newcomer, I don't know, or somebody that maybe is new to you. Who's inspiring you these days?
Someone new, right?
Well, somebody that
Uh,
wasn't on our list.
I'll say he's not new, of course, but I've been listening to Peter Erskine a lot.
Oh, yeah.
For his musicality and amazing musical choices. And actually, I bought it. He has like apps for big band playing, Brazilian
Yes.
playing. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? It's on App Store, and you go there. It's an app for all instruments, right? And you just remove what you need to remove. So for us, we remove the drum set, and you can actually practice sight reading or your interpretation and musicality in general. So yes, Peter Erskine is definitely one drummer I've been listening to a lot.
Incredible player. And
Yeah.
I was fortunate to be a fly on the wall on the Art of the Big Band sessions for Bob Mintzer. And so I was in the studio and got to see Peter play on that record. And as well as John Riley playing on that record, two great drummers. And so I was fortunate enough to see that. But also check out Peter's playing with Don Korolnik. I think GRP recordings from like the 90s. Really beautiful playing. And then the other thing that you can easily find is him playing with, obviously, Jocko on YouTube. And Peter's really young at the time. And and just watching, him playing with Jocko and Weather Report, it's just amazing.
There's a song that Paul Brochu recommended me. He said this is one of the best track ever. It's Vince Mendoza.
Yes.
And the song is Babes of the Day, Babes of the Day, something like that. So it's really, really good. And this is one. It's become one of my favorite track.
Yeah.
Also, as well, it's a really amazing musical playing, and it's really, really good. So guys, check it out.
How about a non-drummer that you're finding inspiration from these days? Non-drummer.
A non-drummer. That's a good question.
Doesn't have to be all about drummers. What's the matter with you?
No, that's true. A non-drummer. Well, like I said, I've been playing piano, and I've been taking some lessons, and I'm on Pianote, which is the Drumeo side of like Drumeo is for drum, Pianote is for piano, and it's all related to Jared Falk. This amazing drummer in our community to create Drumeo and give us like this opportunity to see so many great drummers in clinics. This is awesome, and I had the chance to do some lessons for Drumeo. I was in Vancouver 2 years ago, and you have to check that out. If you don't know Drumeo, please go and subscribe, like free for I think it's a couple of days, so you can explore the platform. It's amazing.
I think I
And
witnessed you doing like your first ever Drumeo thing at NAMM,
live,
right?
right? You're right.
Yeah,
Man.
because we were at the booth and you went up and you played. They had an electronic kit, unfortunately,
Yes.
but you got to play at the Drumeo booth at NAMM.
Yeah.
That clip is still up somewhere, right? I mean, I think
It's on Drumeo. You have to.
it's on
subscribe
Drumeo.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on their website. It's not on YouTube so you have to go on Drumeo, subscribe, and you can see my presentation. And I was talking about feel. I was talking about the Brazilian feel
Yep.
and how to apply this time feel to your groove and feel. So yeah, it was super fun. I was just going to say hi. You remember? And
Yes.
he said like, "Hey, what do you do like tomorrow at 10?" And I was, I don't know. Now you're gonna do a live presentation, and it's gonna introduce, what you're gonna be doing like this year at Drumeo. I was like, okay, no problem, and I was super nervous. But
I know
it was
you were
fun.
definitely nervous.
I was like, whoa, but it was super fun. And so being on piano, I'm discovering a lot of good piano player, and I mean, I've been into Chick. Chick Corea is definitely a big inspiration. And he did, before he passed away, he did a lot of live sessions on
Yep.
YouTube. And he was playing actually a little bit of drum set, marimba, piano. And it's really, really interesting how he plays. And so I'll say Chick Corea.
Yeah, yeah. What a great musician, passionate person, and just creative person. If you look at the catalog that Chick left us, and rest in
Right.
peace, Chick Corea, that catalog is incredible. And like
Yeah.
the record Crystal Silence with Gary Burton on vibes and all those duets, just
Right.
absolutely beautiful stuff. And one of my favorite standards from Chick is that tune Windows,
Cool. Yeah.
Jazz Waltz. So I've done that with my jazz trio. That's just such a beautiful, beautiful tune. By the way, I have to mention these. So Sergio Belotti's in the house. Sergio, what's up?
Sergio, wow.
And Sergio sent me these amazing metal sticks, and I want to read this correctly. They're his signature metal sticks, 5T.
Wow.
You can get them at 247drums.com, and these are really incredible. There's a cool little rubber gizmo here where you could set your position for your fulcrum, and you could roll that out of the little groove. And the thing I love about it, my pad's across the room, but they resonate. The pitches are matched, and when you're working on things like free stroke with students and getting to them to have a nice loose grip, you can really hear the tone of the sticks, and it's a great tool for that. So the 5T metal Sergio Belotti blue metal sticks, 5Ts from 247drums.com. Very cool tool. Sergio, we love you.
We love you, man.
We love you, man.
Yeah.
I got to get Sergio on the show.
I saw Sergio perform at the Cape Breton Drum Festival.
Oh, cool.
Many years ago. It must be like maybe 10 years, maybe more. And it was awesome as always. And I've been following his stuff on his Facebook page, and he always posts some great stuff. So yeah, check him out if you don't know Sergio, or really amazing what he's been doing.
Yeah, really great. And I keep telling. What's that? Go ahead.
Yeah, and talking about sticks, man, we have to talk about gear.
We will definitely get. Let me mention one thing. TR Makach is in here. TR, what's happening? I don't know the weight of the Sergio sticks. Sergio, what is the weight of those blue sticks? Give us the weight.
Super heavy. That's a super heavy category.
Yeah, they are metal sticks, but they I wouldn't recommend hitting cymbals with them, by the way. But amazing for pad work, and I love, like as I said, the tone and being able to release the stick and just getting that doom doom, and then showing a student that if you're gripping too hard, they go don't, don't, don't. But if you let them resonate, as with your sticks that you're about to show us. So yes, let's talk gear. I mean, here we are. You're sitting on your beautiful drum kit, which, by the way, hit your drums a little bit because you're sitting on this beautiful instrument. We want to hear it.
Yeah.
Let's hear this thing.
Yamaha. Yeah, this is a Yamaha maple custom absolute hybrid. It's a hybrid maple absolute. I hope I'm saying it right because sometimes I switch the order of, of the name. But yeah, and the snare is a recording custom in aluminum, so it's a. And
nice.
Thank you so much, Jim, for helping me with the sound, because now you can really hear the sound of the microphones. And I got this camera here. You can see my.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Sounding great, looking great, sounding great. We worked for a while on your setup, getting the cameras and the sound to be just right. But
it's great. It's like the everything. Like it starts with the instruments you're choosing. Like I'm with Remo now, and it's always a question of taste. And I really feel like I have all my favorite instruments now. Like these are really my sound. All Sabian cymbals, Remo drum heads, Yamaha drums, Vickford sticks.
Yeah, baby.
And yeah, we share a couple of companies, right? You're Vickford too, I think.
Prologics, we share.
Prologics.
Sabian.
Prologics, these are just amazing. And Sabian, and yeah, so, companies are a big part of what we do, right? Because
absolutely,
if you can play great instruments, it makes you feel like you're actually sounding good, because you can obviously work on your technique and sound good on very crappy drums, but it's always amazing when you I wear in-ears here, and I can really listen to the sound of the drums, and every time I sit down at the studio and I start playing, it sounds so great in my ears. I can't believe it. So now I'm reproducing the same sound live. So I'm gonna bring my mixer, and I put a little bit of reverb, and I EQ my drums, and I took some lessons to learn a little bit more about sound and how to make it sound good. So the sound is so important if you want to play good and feel good and be like, wow. So that's what I experiment. Every time I'm here, it sounds so good. So yeah. And what sticks do you use, Jim?
I'm using Vader 5As, and
cool.
I'm using Vader a couple different ones, but I like the classic 5As, which is mostly what I've been playing these days. I'm a 5A player. Many years ago playing Vickford 5As, and then recently playing Vader 5As. So, but I also...
Are they maple?
What's that?
Are they maple?
Yeah, sugar maple. And I also like their barrel tip 5As that I use for some of my gigs. But the classic 5A with the teardrop tips, I really like.
They're great, right?
Yeah,
I have the SD10 Swinger here that I use.
Yeah, I've used those.
Yeah, they're amazing. And maple, I love maple. I was using the Weckel sticks, the Evolution sticks, for a while, and I came back to maple because they're a little bit bigger, but because they're light.
Yes.
It feels like, I don't know, there's a sensation of maple I really love. So I guess I'm always back to maple.
You found your instrument and your stick.
I found my instrument.
There was a time when I really loved the Harvey Mason sticks, the Vickford Harvey Mason sticks, because they had sort of a 5B body, but then a little tiny ball tip, and like the Peter Erskine stick has. And I love that for the cymbal sound that it was able to produce and the stick articulation, but the weight was really great on those. So I played those Harvey Masons for a really long time. But definitely back to I keep coming back around to 5A all the time, back to 5A.
Right.
By the way, Jim Mola said beautiful. He thought your drum sounded beautiful. Or he's saying potentially that you are beautiful, which he's kind of right about that.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
and Lucia put some clapping hands, which is beautiful. Um,
Now let me just play some cymbals so you can hear the cymbals.
yeah,
Check this
let's
out.
hear what you got up there. What is the riveted ride? What is that riveted ride?
Which one? This one?
The one on the
I got
bottom.
many rivets. The bottom. Well, check this out. This one is the Chick Corea ride.
I thought so. Yeah. I love that ride.
Yeah. This is one of the first model I brought back from the NAMM show when they presented it.
Yeah.
Legacy Ozone with the holes.
Yep.
For my ride, and the Legacy 14-inch hats. I think they match perfectly well. This one is an Artisan Elite 20-inch.
Beautiful.
And Crash's artisan. This is actually a French word, artisan.
Oh my God.
16-inch. And this one is a HHX complex thin crash.
Yeah.
And I asked Mark Love to pick the highest pitched one. I was looking for something really high pitched, and I put 2 rivets in it.
Nice. Let me hear that.
Yeah, so that's the one. And the splashes are Evolution, like 12 and 7.
Nice.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I love my cymbals. They sound
Yeah.
so great. I got a couple of sets that are different. When I play different gigs, I'm gonna switch between different cymbals, of course. But these are my favorites.
Yeah. Oh, great choices, man. They sound awesome.
Is
that a 3-pointed? Is there a 3-pointed ride in the background against the wall?
I think you're talking about
on your right side.
I have the 3-point ride. Actually.
Yeah.
This one is an HHX Jojo Mayer.
The Jojo Omni.
Yeah, I went 3 times at the Vault. It's in Canada. It's 5 hour. It's a 5-hour drive, from my home in Meductic, and I've been there 3 times. And I brought some cymbals we actually created with Mark Love. And so I got some unique cymbals that I would use for certain, things. And I got a lot of cymbals, after like 15 years, I think, with the company, and getting more cymbals. It's a collection, but I always use, all my cymbals. It depends, different styles and times. It's fun.
Beautiful stuff. Oh my God. Okay, so speed round questions. Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, you kind of answered this, but the first time that you knew you wanted to play, no, you actually said that when you knew you really wanted to do it for a living was after seeing Dom's clinic. But when was the first time you actually wanted to play drums at all?
I was actually 3 years old.
3 years old.
I remember, at 3. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and that's obviously because you have musicians in the family. That was really helpful. So 3 years old. What about your first drum that you ever owned? What was it?
Westbury drum set.
Westbury.
Westbury, yeah. So it was a cheap drum set, but the truth is, my drums was the Westbury, but the professional drummer who was playing with my parents owned a Tama, a professional Tama kit at the time, and I was always playing on his set without telling him.
Spoiled brat. First record you ever bought?
Oh man, it was Aerosmith. Aerosmith.
Aerosmith. Yeah, which one?
Aerosmith. Yeah. The with the cow. You know, it was a cow like on the
Oh, really?
cover.
Oh, that's like
Yeah.
a later one. Um,
Yeah.
that
And
there's
Green Day. Green Day. I think. Oh, actually, Green Day. Dookie was the first one. I think.
oh, okay.
Yeah. Real
Green Day.
album like CDs. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say it was the Justin Bieber record.
No, that was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Okay, good.
It's a different story.
What about the first concert you ever attended?
First concert. Oh man. Man, it's crazy. I don't really remember. Probably my parents because I was always traveling with them when they were playing gigs.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah, my parents.
After the parents, like, what was? Did they ever take
Like,
you to a show when you were a kid?
Man, yes. The answer is yes, but I don't really remember.
Justin Bieber? I think it was Justin Bieber, right?
Yeah, Justin Bieber. That's
By the way, Peter Bartone says, "What's up, Steph?"
Hey, Peter. Such a great drummer.
And Don O'Keefe is hanging with us tonight.
Nice.
Always great to have Don in here, and he said that Stefan is always inspiring. So,
Oh man, and yeah, but it's great. They're really like amazing to stay with us because we're so boring. Two guys talking about
drums.
and
How boring is this?
man, it's super boring, right?
First drum hero that you decided you had, besides Dom, because I know Dom was really kind of the first drum
Well,
hero.
Weckel would be.
Weckel
yeah.
would be the first. Cool.
Yeah.
First gig you ever played?
First gig, I was 5 years old.
What?
And it was for my uncle's wedding, and I played a couple of songs with the band, and we have that on video. It's pretty crazy.
All right, I want to see that video.
I can send it to you actually.
Yeah, you
And
should send that to me.
I also have pictures at 3 years old when I was playing in the basement, and yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. my first gig with a band was a nursing home, and I think I was about 11 or 12, where we actually played a full set, piano player, trumpet player, drums, and we played at a nursing home playing all the lovely old tunes for the old folks in the nursing home.
Right.
First, worst or weirdest gig that you ever had?
I was called to play it was a classical kind of gig, and the guy said, he knew I was a drummer, right? But I don't know why. He said, "Do you have 2 floor toms?" And I said, yes, of course. Bring the 2 floor toms. And okay, so I brought the set and 2 floor toms. When I got there, the conductor said, "Okay, now you're gonna play timpani. So, do you have timpani?" I was, "No, I don't." "Oh, but you can use your floor toms." And I said, "Oh, that's why he wanted me to bring the floor tom." But he didn't, tell me it was a classical gig. So I was there with my drums, and man, I only needed like 2 floor toms, but obviously it wasn't really working. It's not the same sound, and I was trying to read the charts. It was super fast, and I was, oh my God, this is, and the chart, it was like a mess, with like different percussions and stuff. And I was like, I don't have any percussions with me. So and I realized like this is not a drum set gig, I'm at the wrong place now with the wrong, instruments. So what can I do? And it felt like 1,000 years, just, oh my God, and trying to just survive the gig. So that was the.
But you
worst
survived,
gig of my
and
life.
you may have learned something. I'm not sure. You probably learned to ask the next time you get a weird request, like, "Can you just bring 2 floor toms?" Like, as
then
you're trying to tune it to F and B flat.
I was probably 18, so I was starting, freelancing, and I was super happy just to have a gig.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot, like asking like questions, more questions.
More
before I
questions.
say yes, and just knowing, more about
man.
the gig before, yeah.
What was your favorite gig that you've played? Even it could have been your last one. I don't know, but like your favorite gig that you've had, ever.
Ever. Where it's not like one gig I enjoy.
Could be a
all
clinic,
gigs,
by
and
the way.
I know it sounds yeah, right. Could be clinic or gig. I enjoy all live performances. I love obviously. Um, but one that was like epic, like was really like amazing. I guess when I played in Shanghai, when I played in China, it was a drum clinic. I was playing with backing tracks, but I was playing at the Shanghai Grand Theater in front
Nice.
of 10,000 people, and I was in the middle of a kind of a Chinese percussion festival with all Chinese percussions, and I was the only drummer playing like fusion music. It was so different than the rest of the
Wow.
show. Oh yeah, it was weird. But I felt so jet lagged because I was there for 2 days, 2 shows, and a master class in a school. And I was so jet lagged that I felt no pressure at all. It was like if you wake me up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and I was and you say, okay, go play drums.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was man, it was crazy. So I was on stage playing and feeling like no stress, playing a huge festival, and because I had no stress, I don't know. It was. I remember this show, vividly. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh,
But
that's
they're all
awesome.
good.
Great answer. I love that. Um, let's see. One record that you listen to that may surprise people, because we know you're a fusion head.
Yeah.
One record besides Justin Bieber, because I know that's high on your playlist.
Of course, of course.
One record that
Um,
would surprise people that you listen to.
it's a good question. Actually, I play fusion because of Carl, and most of my favorite drummers were like fusion drummers. But fusion is not the only style I've been playing and listening to, because I was in bebop and jazz for many years and listening almost only that. I had a period of time where I was listening to more avant-garde jazz and modern jazz. And so no, I love pop music. I play pop gigs as well. So I really love almost all styles. Uh, Record-wise, I love R&B music. So, but you meant it's funny because Justin Bieber, I think Justin does some amazing things. I've been watching with like his live shows, and when
Oh
he
yeah.
brings a band, man, the drummer and the band, the harmony and everything that's going on between his voice, and it's amazing. So yeah, all like Rihanna and Bieber and all this pop stuff. I really I love it. Like I
Bieber can
really
play some
love it.
drums too.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, but man, something that would surprise people. Ah, it's a good question. I really don't know now, but I listen to so many styles.
It's like with Stephen Kramer. He's seems like such a jazz head, which he is, right?
You listen to metal
But
music.
then he listens to like really extreme metal, like Meshuggah, and Dillinger Escape Plan and stuff like that. And he actually did a bebop version of a Dillinger Escape Plan
That's
tune.
that's great.
But yeah, so like
Yeah.
you know, you never know what people have in their playlist.
No, complete. I love using like I'll use Apple Music and just say, oh, shuffle pop music or shuffle New Orleans music, shuffle like R&B music, and
Right.
for a while I'll be listening to a specific style just because I love it. I love going back to the 80s, all the top 80s song or
Oh yeah.
90s. I love just asking my iPhone to play like the best like shuffle like top 40 music of the 80s, and I'll really love that. And I play because when I practice piano, I love playing pop music a lot.
Yeah.
So I'll just shuffle some songs, pick one song, and sing it and play piano at the same time. And this is just something different than playing drums, and it brings you into a different mode of how you express yourself with music, and something I really love
Sweet. Um,
doing.
yeah, I've been listening to, I listen to a lot of Zappa. That's something that I've always been a huge fan of. I'm wearing my Team
Yeah.
Tweezle shirt tonight. As well as, Tony Williams, all different kinds of stuff. But I've been listening to Eric Badu, which I think she's incredible. So speaking of R&B and
Yeah.
sort of the hip hop world, Erica Badu is really incredible. Um,
Right.
okay, favorite coffee beverage, which you and I have had coffee many times, but
Yeah.
I have to ask. So what's going on in the coffee side of things?
Oh man, I
And you,
love lattes,
okay,
definitely. Uh, yeah, but yeah,
and we
I
both have
drink
espresso
coffee.
machines, so you do espresso at home.
Yes, espresso at home, and I drink coffee in the morning and sometimes in the afternoon, between 1 and 2, you know, coffee cups a day. Uh, I try to stop. Sometimes I tell myself I should stop because it's not healthy, but in the other hand, I want to feel energized. And sometimes if I, played late last night, and coffee is the perfect solution, and I love it. So that's
Nice.
pretty much the bad thing. Sugar and coffee. Man, I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't. But my drug is really sugar and coffee. So if you bring me to Starbucks, I'll definitely order like a large coffee and a muffin or something. You'll always
Gotcha.
see me. Yeah, I don't want to, be tired. So I always have sugar and coffee with me pretty much all the time. So if you see me on a gig, I pretty much have coffee, and if I have a break, I'm like, okay, cookies and coffee. It's really, yeah,
You don't
it's
have
really my
spaghetti and meatballs on your floor, Tom, like Vinny Colaiuta?
and
Uh,
sushis.
and sushi. I
Sushi,
love those
yeah.
stories. Um, okay, so what's coming up next? What do we have happening next for you?
Cool. Of course, the weaker side 2 is coming. I'm also working on a couple of other books. I don't want to tell which ones right now, but yeah, more books. Also, I'm going to be recording a third album with the Carl Mayotte Fusion Quintet. So
Nice.
make sure you check out the first 2 albums. The first one is Fantasme. It means ghost in Old French. And the second one is Pop de Ville. It's like a fusion pop was a style of fusion that
Uh,
was introduced in Japan in the 80s. And now we use the name pop. De ville means town, like city
yeah.
pop. So in English, I guess this is city pop. Uh, so check out the 2 albums. The third one, we're working on it right now. And as far as clinics, just follow my webpage. You'll see all the online clinics or live clinics and gigs, pretty much all there. And yes,
I have your website in the description of the video, so
yep,
you can go to stephanechamberlain.com, and
cool.
very easy to find. And Steph's calendar is up there, and all the information about the companies that he endorses, and Stephane's recordings, and everything is there, and about lessons and all the education stuff. There's a store up there. You can find links to the digital versions of the books, which is awesome. And any other companies we forgot to mention. We mentioned Yamaha, we mentioned Remo, Vic Firth, Sabian. Who else do we forget to
ProLogix.
mention? Prologix, of
Yeah.
course.
There's also a company I've been involved with, which is AirTurn. AirTurn
Oh,
app
yeah.
is the version for you when you want to turn the pages of your iPad. So instead of using your finger, you have like 2 pads, right and left, and you can turn the pages while you play. So this is an amazing company I want to mention, and AirTurn.
AirTurn.
It's
That's
like
amazing.
if you use an iPad, you can turn the pages while playing, and it's super easy, and it makes a huge difference
I have to
when
look into that
battery.
company. I saw them for the first time on your Instagram, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I'm definitely going to get in touch. I'm very interested in AirTurn. That sounds really, really super cool, especially for
such a great
clinics and
company.
stuff to be able to just tap and go back and forth. Also, for my workshop, because I have a 90-page booklet, it would be really cool to be able to turn pages with my stick,
Yes, yeah,
um,
yeah, of course.
which would be really, really super cool. Bob Sears says that he uses AirTurn and he loves it. Awesome, Bob
Cool,
Sears. You are the best. Bob is part of my weekly Zoom squad, so I'll be seeing Bob on Thursday. Um,
great.
yeah, man. Well, wow, Steph, super fun as always. You and I have spent a lot of time together, and
It's
I was.
over already, man. I was up until like midnight. I can stay with you. Let's start more. Let's
um,
start.
and you and I, we definitely have to plan another masterclass or clinic together. I think that would be super fun. We
Yeah.
always have a great time when we do that together. And I have a couple of new records that I recorded over the last 2 years during the pandemic, and I have a lot of material. And so
Wow.
I want to dig into. We did a behind the tracks one that was really cool, where you and I
Yeah.
both kind of went deep in what we're playing on the tracks and how we choose our parts, or do part construction, groove construction. So maybe we'll have to do a part 2 of that. That would be really cool.
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would
man.
be really, really nice.
And the
And
next time
again,
you're in New York, you have to come stay at my house.
soon, my friend, soon. And again, thanks for having me. And I've been watching
Oh, of
your
course.
interviews and your live, hand stuff, and it's amazing. Thank you so much for what you do, and it's inspiring. And I'm super happy to be a part of it. And I just hope like people. I know we have so many like professional, like master drummers who just came by, and we're probably just sharing our passion is something feels so great. But for all the students and the beginners, and I hope it's inspiring as well. And just talking about drums and seeing what we do. And the goal is to inspire people, but also teach them like a path of how to approach your career, not only as an artist, but also as a businessman, and how you and I built what we have today, and the reasons why we're making a living with drumming. So I hope I was able to give you a good overview of how I did it, so you can uh, on it's your turn now to do it, and to approach all the different sections of your playing and your career. And I hope it's gonna motivate you to do more, and to or just keep on track.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You hear that, students? Pay attention. Yeah, really killer. Great hanging tonight. We're gonna wrap it up here, but definitely go to Stephane's website and check it out. It's in the description of the video. And of course, this is going to be archived on YouTube, and I'll be promoting this interview over the next couple of days. And when I get a chance, I like to cut out some really cool little clips of it and put it up on social media. So I'll find some moments where we're embarrassing Stephane and put it up somewhere. And yeah, man. So, and thanks to everybody in the chat that came and hung. I really appreciate it. I love doing these interviews. Obviously, it's something that is a labor of love, and we do this for the drum community, with the drum community, and we are the only musicians, I think, that really approach things in this way. This love of sharing, this love of our instrument, and our love of Jim Mola.
Oh yeah, of course. That's why I play drums, because I love Jim Mola. And
That is
every
correct.
time I see his face, every time I feel sad, I imagine Jim's face, and
Yeah.
just I feel good.
His face is really the antidote for anything that you're feeling. If you're feeling sad or lonely, just look at an image of Jim Mola's face,
And
and
his voice, right? His voice.
and his
is
voice.
Has something deep in his voice.
Yeah.
Just, man, it's super sexy.
He has that really super sexy deep. He's
Right,
sort of
right.
yeah, like
The way
Barry.
he moves too. Have you seen how he moves?
And his moves,
so
yeah.
smooth, man, that's Jim is yeah,
Yeah, he's the man.
better than us. Better than us.
Awesome. So thank you, everybody. We're gonna hit it here, and definitely we'll be talking. Steph and I will be talking about our next little venture. So we'll keep you guys posted. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.
See you guys soon. Thanks, Jim. Bye bye.